Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Mets, Knicks, and Jets fans. My name is Nick, a.k.a. Goody, and with me is my old man, a.k.a. the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. To all my friends who are Yankee fans, who are avid watchers of the show, I'm talking to you, John Gubitosi, go ahead and skip this segment now. Because moments ago, the New York Mets put up 12 runs against the Yankees to sweep the season series 4-0. An exclamation point to close out a summer of dominance against the Bronx Bombers, heading in the total wrong direction. They got two people in their entire lineup. The Mets are on their way. We're looking like one of the better teams in baseball over the last month and a half. Talk to me, big guy. How are we feeling about those Mets?
Pretty pumped right now. I mean, looking at those Yankee fans and their expressions in the stands was awesome. It was hilarious.
And the early exits.
Listen, clearly the Yankees have had many better times than we have, but at this very moment, it's a great feeling to be a Met fan right now as far as New York City. So just happy with the way we're playing. I have to admit, I was really surprised at some of the things going on with the Yankees in this game. I mean, they just looked out of sorts. They weren't playing well. They were doing stuff that if the Mets had been doing, I would have been screaming at the TV.
People would be saying same old Mets and shit
right,
like that.
What are you doing? I mean, just some of the plays were just terrible. Okay, we had a couple errors from the pitchers. Our pitcher threw
None of our pitchers can throw the first to a base. None of our pitchers can go to a base.
Evidently. But I mean, they're throwing the ball away to home plate. I mean,
that was bad.
I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, they're making some plays, man, that I was very surprised. They did not look buttoned up. They didn't look together at all.
I mean, really quick, let's talk about the Yankees and some of the things that we're seeing over there. So, as you said, you even have LeMahieu, who is a former Gold Glover. He tries to make that that do or die play last night that ends up being a double, but we actually weren't able to capitalize. But then also just overall, I mean, there were the comments by Severino that everybody that he kind of walked back, but it's exactly what we saw. They have those two guys in their lineup, and other than that, there's nobody to be scared of. I mean, Dad, Jamie Jones and as the leadoff hitter, I honestly, Dad, I had not heard of that guy before.
Never.
I realized that he was hitting leadoff for the New York Yankees, and J.D. Davis is your cleanup hitter. Yo, come on, man. Come on, man. Yo,
with the big helmet, right?
The huge helmet, the Mr. Kazoo helmet.
The great Kazoo.
Come on, man. Yo, that guy is your cleanup hitter. Yo, how is this? I mean, they're saying, well, once Giancarlo gets back, then we'll be whole. And it's like, okay, he's back. He's one sprint away from a Louis hamstring at all times. He's wound too tight. The Yankees, man, it is not look good. Okay, good point about this guy Jones and J.D. Davis yesterday. This is your leadoff hitter and your cleanup hitter. They both at one point in the game had to be pinch hit for. That never happens.
They're a joke. That their lineup is pretty bad. I mean, it's as bad as it's been in years. I've never seen. You don't see the Yankees like this too often, and with a payroll like they have, it's no bueno. I mean, listen, man, there's a lot of people, who were a little bit nervous. No, more than nervous. Who were screaming about Stearns at the start of the year and some of the moves he made and the guys he brought in. Oh, you're running the team like a small town team. This is the Mets. You got to go through it. Da, da, da. Listen, man, those small town moves seem to be paying off. I mean, some of these guys who come on, man. I didn't know about this guy Iglesias before this.
I knew of him as a player, but I mean, he's been a journeyman his entire career. And the thing about Iglesias is, I mean, as Mets fans, we know the energy this guy brings. I mean, his hands are fantastic, but you can look at when he came to the Mets and once he got put on the club and got put into the lineup, that's literally exactly when things started to turn around. Everybody wants to point to Grimace. Iglesias, Mr. OMG, he's really the guy that's turned it around for us.
This guy not only is great, and he's great at the plate. You know, he's been fantastic.
He's better at the plate this year so far with the Mets than he's ever been in his entire career. It's crazy.
I know. It is crazy. But the other thing about it is, I heard them saying when they were talking today during the game about how, you know, the write up on him before this was that he was a little shaky in the field, and I'm like, this guy's fantastic in the field.
Shaky in the field? No, shaky in the plate, Dad. He's always been.
Nick,
he's always
that's what they said.
Who said that? Carl Ravitch said that.
It might have been Ravitch or it might have been Coney. I don't know.
Well, both. Okay, they're both idiots, by the way. First of all, so Carl Ravitch at one point, there was a tweet by John Saponaro. So John Saponaro, I'll throw the tweet up. You know, when I actually put out the episode, and this was early. This is like the 5th inning. He put up so far. Carl Ravitch has said Harrison Bader is hurt. He's not. Mets bullpen is short today. It's not. Christian Scott is a relief pitcher. He's not. The worldwide leader indeed. Ravitch sucks.
Why wasn't Bader playing?
He just got
a day off.
Literally, in the pregame, Mendoza said a reset day. And also, if we're going to talk about the ESPN broadcast, I mean, David Cohn, he almost sounds like he's being held hostage in there. Like, I sometimes I forget he's there. And then, as you know, there's nobody I dislike more than Eduardo Perez. I am so happy he is not the GM of this team. That he is terrible. He's so bad. He sounds like a Muppet character. At one point, he said he was talking about the fact that Judge and Soto are so great, but the rest of the lineup is, you know, obviously not doing too much this year. And he said that puts a lot of pressure on the one hitter and the 4 through 9. So what you're saying is everybody but them? Like, what a weird way to say that. And then when they showed Lindor, like, giving his kid some bubble gum or whatever, he just said gracias, papa. Like, that guy he loves to point out the fact that he speaks Spanish. He loves it. He goes out of his way whenever he can to not just speak Spanish, but roll all the R's and give all the accents. And it's just like, bro, we get it. Your name's Eduardo Perez. It would be silly for us to think you don't speak Spanish. You don't have to remind us at every possibility.
Yeah, I don't dislike these guys quite as much as you do. Coney didn't bother me too much tonight, but Eduardo, you know, he's got a little bit of a phlegm issue. It sounds like, or
you think it's a phlegm situation? He needs to give like.
No, I'm joking. He sounds like that. Right. It sounds like that, but I'm sure it's just how he sounds. You know,
the fact that you get the Hawk reference is quite the you know, some guy in his 60s who doesn't even have an Instagram and only has a Facebook gets that reference. That says a bunch itself. But
it's all over the MySpace. It's all over the MySpace.
The MySpace. All right, so let's get back to business here. Lindor didn't make the All-Star. He didn't make the All-Star team, and he might win MVP.
You think you could win MVP with that first 6 weeks? Even so.
Listen, he's third in WAR.
His numbers are amazing.
He's third in WAR. I mean, if he continues at this pace, you would think that at some point he has to have a little bit of a downturn. I mean, it's baseball, but I mean, if he could somehow continue at this pace, then I think he'll definitely have a chance. And also, it's going to have to do with how we you know, how it all falls out as far as the teams. Like, if the Dodgers, you know, win the division, then Ohtani's going to win. But if the Mets somehow come out and we're the first wild card and we're a hot team at the end, and you know, especially with what he does in the field, in addition to what he does, and he is truthfully a leader of the team. I mean, I think he's got as good of an argument as anybody right now.
The guy is amazing. I mean, the way he attacks first pitches sometimes. If I was a pitcher, I would never throw him a strike on first pitch. Because he hunts it, man. He hunts you trying to get ahead in the count, and he tattoos those first pitches sometimes. Nick, I've noticed that the last month. But he's a heck of a player, man, and he's really, really doing his thing. Come on, the leadoff move, it's nothing short of genius. Now, you know, you're judging by results. I mean, you know, you couldn't ask for a better leadoff move than the move to leadoff than Mendoza did. And that's obviously working. Nimmo is great in the 2-hole. Not today, but, you know, for the most part, he's fantastic in the 2-hole. The lineup has just really come together. And like Coney was saying today, you know, you don't want to face the Mets. The Mets have a tough lineup to face today, right now. And top to bottom, man. And you got this guy, Taylor, you know, tomahawking
have a day.
Tomahawking pitches like by his eyes, and
That was
knocking it over
like
the
a Moni
wall.
swing. That was like a Moni
Yeah,
swing right there.
yeah, and then it goes over the wall. It's amazing. I mean, yeah, and now Squirrel's getting his power. I mean,
I
come on, man.
I
Hey,
was just gonna say, speaking of attacking first pitches,
yes,
that guy,
another guy.
he's back. The squirrel has found his nut.
Yeah, right. Something. I
At,
mean, listen, I'm thrilled. And he's doing well in the field too. All these guys, Taylor's fantastic in the field. Nimmo. I mean, they're all doing well, man. I love the way the team is playing. I love the way the energy. The energy is just fantastic. It's palpable. It's great.
Yeah, and you got to give all that credit to Mendoza. That starts at the top, and he seems to
Mm-hmm.
be a guy who definitely has an energy about him. I don't know exactly what I see, how to quantify that, but it's something that
Positive,
I heard guys
positive.
like, but positive, but also just like it seems like he's just serious and he's just all in, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
all baseball. I mean, Gary Cohen, obviously, he's Mr. Mets, but he's grew up a fan, and there's a lot of reason for him to be invested in them doing well. But the way that he talks about Mendoza, I've always found to be very telling. He talks about his energy. He talks about just the way that he talks to and communicates with players. It's a point that he's been making since spring training, and we're seeing that. And recently he's pulling all of the right strings where he especially in the first game in this series where he decides to pitch to Judge at certain points, and it just seems like he's rolling nothing but 7s and 11s right now. And
Wow.
we have to remember this when a decision that he makes ends up results wise not being the right one, to give him some grace and remember these times where it seemed like everything he did was all coming out roses.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we won't remember it, and most fans won't, and they'll rip him when he makes bad decisions, because that's especially the way baseball is. But yeah, the guy's doing a great job, man. I mean, that pitching to Judge last night, I was nervous. I did not feel good about that. But listen, it's kind of hard for me to say push the guy to second base. You know what I mean? I mean, if first base is open, I see it, but now you're going to push the guy to second base.
That's that
That
Barry
might be
Bonds treatment right there. Like, yeah.
right,
People don't usually do. I've never seen anybody do stuff like but I mean, he's that dude, and it's even more of a conversation just because of who he ends up having behind him. So I honestly, I could have lived with it either way. I looked at it and I said, I don't know what I would do right here. I got to trust my guy, and whatever the outcome is, that's the outcome. But I mean, yeah, Deichmann, hey man, he got it done in the clutch, man. Deichmann, I swear. I like to psych myself out with it and say it the wrong way every time.
I know. I didn't like him, and I know he makes me very nervous, but he came through last night, so I had to give him some more credit. But man, when he came in the game, I was like, oh no. But he came through, man. What can you say?
That's what. Oh, you should have heard me and my kids when Ottavino comes in with the bases loaded tonight, and I'm like, this is the last person that I want to see is not Avino right now with the bases loaded. And then that second pitch he throws, he almost throws to the backstop. Yeah. Alvarez is diving to go and get it. But he ends up inducing the ground ball, fairly hard hit, but we were able to make the play and able to get out of it, man. So he got it done. Maybe, hopefully, that gives him a little bit of confidence going forward.
Hopefully, man. Look, Ottavino's very shaky, but when he's right, he's right. With all these pitchers, when they're right, they're right. But you want guys that are just consistent. This guy, the new guys that they got, Maton, I don't know. Maton, and this boy today, Danny Young.
Yep.
This guy, kind of a slight guy, a slight fellow. But he had that sweeper pitch going, huh?
He did. Yeah, Danny Young. You texted me something about him during the game. What did you say?
No, not him. The guy who was pitching for the Yankees. No, the guy who was pitching for the Yankees. Looked like they just got him off the bar on 161st. Come on, that guy. I forget what his name is, but he looked like he had just smoked a stogie and just finished drinking a couple old fashions at the bar down the street, and they were like, "Come on, we need you to pitch." Come on, man.
You're talking about Tim Hill. Tim Hill is who you're talking about.
This guy who got a. That's the guy who Squirrel knocked him out of the game with that shot over Judge's head.
Yeah, to deep center.
Which, by the way, what's going on with Judge right there? Judge needs to make that catch.
He definitely Judge misjudged it off the bat,
right?
and he didn't get on his horse, and immediately, and that ball
Wow.
just kept going on him. And I mean, Squirrel right now, he's been solid in the field. He's kept his head down. He like we talked about in the last episode. He hit really well in the second half last year, and now he comes out of the break again this year. And so far, he's been one of the better hitters in this lineup, and that just makes this lineup deep, and it makes it like Cone was saying, and like you said earlier, something that other pitchers don't want to deal with. There's not a lot of easy outs, and what you're seeing is that different guys are going to ebb and flow throughout the season, and we have a lineup that's long enough that when some guys are ebbing, other guys are flowing. I mean, really, recently, Nimmo, JD, Pete, Alvarez, none of them have not been doing much, but the other guys are stepping up and making it happen. McNeil is stepping up. Lindor continues to be the man, and we've been able to piece it together. We've won some games, some low run scoring games. We've obviously today the bats broke out. I mean, Tyrone Taylor, have a day, 3 for 5, a dinger, an absolute shot. Like you said, at a ball that was above his letters. And like they said in the broadcast, Cole is not used to seeing a high fastball out of the zone get turned on and smoked like that. And I love the fact that we've beat up on Cole twice. I heard a lot of Yankee people saying today that, the first time he had just come back. Now he's settled in. Yeah, well, he didn't look too settled today. In fact, he looked quite unsettled when he was throwing his glove up in the air.
Yeah, he was frustrated, man. He was so, and in the dugout, he's hitting the railing. That was great. That was fantastic.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Fantastic theater. They had a lot of reason to be frustrated. They just didn't play very well. I tell you, Nick, when that ball went over Judge's head, and they made that stupid play where they threw the ball way at home.
Threw it to home, but it was way, it was way wide.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, Nick, if somehow you showed me figurines of these guys making these plays, and you couldn't see their uniforms to see who they were, I'd be like, oh, the Mets are fucking up. What are the Mets doing? And then you put it on as the Yankees, like, I mean, come on, man. Judge has got to make that play. I mean, I would be screaming at the TV if that was the Mets did that,
Yeah.
And this guy was a third baseman or the shortstop missed that throw to home plate. I mean, it wasn't like the pitcher.
No, it was the third baseman. It was Cabrera.
Yeah. And I mean, and these guys in runners in scoring position. Oh my gosh, they're like batting 100.
Which the Mets have struggled with quite a bit here recently. In the game on Tuesday, I kept feeling like
sooner or later.
When this game comes, when they end up coming back and winning this game, we're going to think about this time that we had the bases loaded with no outs, and this other time where we had guys on second and third with no outs, another time where we have a guy on second. It's just we kept having those opportunities to tack on and weren't able to do it. Tonight we continue to tack on. As I've said, obviously it's a fun thing to watch as a fan when we tack on, but I think it's so important, specifically when it comes to our bullpen and some of the issues we run into there. But overall, man, it's just. You feel like right now anything's possible with this team. And, we definitely got to be buyers in this next week. Now we get the Braves. I mean, imagine if we can win 3 out of 4 against the Braves, and now all of a sudden we're in the top wild card spot. It just feels good to be a Mets fan right now. It feels good, especially to be able to beat down the Yankees and know how, like, the Yankee fans are in total peril right now. I mean, the season started off great. Listen, they're still in a very good position to make the postseason. As we know, baseball, the entire season is a roller coaster. But with it all going bad and them scuffling, even coming out of the break, and they go 2-2 against Tampa Bay, and then they play the Mets at home and lose 2, and the second one being a 12-3, just absolute demolishing. Yankee fans are down bad right now, man. That they do not like losing to the Mets and getting embarrassed like that. And even the ones that, don't hate the Mets, I honestly, I'm not one of those Mets fans who just despises the Yankees like some other Mets fans do. But I do like beating them. I like beating them handedly. And I like that we are going in total opposite directions right now in this season.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. I mean, hey, the Yankees are in a bit of a panic mode now, Nick, because what are they? They're like 14 games over 500 still, right?
Yeah, they're
I mean,
still
they're still very formidable and all
16
that.
44.
But I will tell you, Nick, that team is presently made up. They're going nowhere if they get to the postseason.
Nowhere.
Okay, they're
Nowhere.
getting
Not with that
smoked
lineup. No way.
very quickly. Yes. And their pitching is good, but it's
It's
not
okay, but
fantastic.
yeah.
It's not lights out or anything, So they're in big trouble, man. They got to figure something out, and I don't know what they do. With the trading deadline coming up, I'm not sure how many moves they can make. Really, I mean, are they going to go get Vlad Jr.? No. So I don't know what they're going to do, man. And then you got to realize too, if they don't pick it up, do they keep Soto?
So that's an interesting question that a lot of people have been talking about. I mean, honestly, like I don't understand if you're the Yankees and you have that guy at 25, why you wouldn't give and you play and you get a chance to lock him up to say them play the next 10 years in Yankee Stadium with that short porch. I don't see why you wouldn't do everything with that. Whatever the case may be,
yeah, you got to keep
it. You need to add to him and Judge. This is not a well, but you know what though? The Yankees have. It's not the Yankees of when I was a kid, when it was just sign the checks. It's funny because the Steinbrenner sons who grew up with a silver spoon are now being the ones who are trying to be so fiscally responsible. They're not out there just wheeling and dealing, just make it happen like their dad was. And now the Yankees are operating kind of more like the Mets did at one point. And the Mets, we had that period last year where we went out and we signed all these big names. That didn't work. Stearns comes in. He makes, solid moves. The thing that I can see with this team already is that we're just so much deeper than we have been in recent years. We can withstand an injury much better than we could. Or two, right. And, and our bench players, when they come in, they're contributors. This guy, Tyrone Taylor, Torrens. I mean, it's just, it really, really is turning into a fun season. As we know, next week, this could all feel different. But right now, it feels good. Yankees, man. 4-0 against the Yankees this season. I don't like the 2-2 game series, though.
No, I think it should be 3 games. But next year, it's 2-3 game series back there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Go back to 2-3 game series.
Okay, I'm glad that's the case. And I also think I'm a big proponent of they should do the double header where you play one at one stadium and one at the other stadium, like they did that one year. They did that one year because of I think there was like a rain out that they had to make up. But I always think that, like, if I was in New York, that would be a cool thing to do, is go to the one game, hop on the train, and now you're taking a train with all people that were at that game and go to the other game. It seems like it would just be a cool day in the city. I think they should do at least one doubleheader where they play each park.
Yeah, that's tough, though. I mean, now these players have to get from one place to the other. I mean,
they're on a bus.
I know they're on a bus, but if they get caught in some sort of traffic snarl.
Well, the game doesn't start until the teams get there. I mean,
I know
it is. You don't make the games an hour apart. You make the game. You do a day-night doubleheader.
Right. There have to be something like that. It'd be interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It was fun when they did it before. I never participated in that, but looking at the game today did make me, remember how many games I've been in. Most of the Subway Series games have been at Yankee Stadium. So,
Yeah. The last one I was at Yankee Stadium. Me, your daughter, her husband, and my buddy, the aforementioned John Gubitosi, on July 4th a couple years ago. There was a doubleheader that day. We were supposed to be at the game Friday night, but it got rained out. So we went to the park, stayed there for the rain, left, came back the next day on July 4th, stayed for the first game, did not stay for the second game, which is good because the Mets won the first game. Pete hit a gargantuan home run off of Soriano, and I got to walk out happy and miss the second game, which the Mets lost. So real quick, we're speaking about the Subway Series. I hate to put you through this, big guy, but is there a particular infamous Subway Series game that you were at that you would like to tell the people about?
Luis Castillo game, of course. I was at that game, and that was one of the low points of Met fandom for me. Tough times. It was a bad ending with me and
the dropped pop up when A-Rod popped the ball up and he dropped the ball. And it was you and Gary B. Shout out to Gary B., avid listener of the show. And I remember you giving me a little bit more details about, some of the back and forth between some of you and the Yankee fans and how the exit went down after that.
Well, we were surrounded by Yankee fans. Gary and I would go most every year with Gary's friend who had 3 tickets, and he would take us to these Subway Series games. And, Gary and I were getting it from all sides, all game, catching it from all the Yankee fans, giving it back. And then when that play happened, Gary and I are pumped up at this point. We think we're about to win the game. When that play happened, Gary and I got up and we were hugging each other, about to watch the game end because we thought it was over right there. And then when he drops the ball and this guy runs around and scores, it's one of the lowest moments I've ever felt as a baseball fan. And I just looked at Gary and I said, let's go. We're leaving right now. And we just walked out, man, going downstairs in the stairwell at Yankee Stadium with all the Yankees fans chanting, let's go Yankees. And me and Gary are walking down there. I'm trying to tell Gary, chill, because I don't feel like getting into a fight in this stairwell. And Gary punches like a metal thing on the wall so hard. He wore like a brace on his hand for like 2 or 3 months after that. What a But yeah.
Oh, man.
And then when we got outside, Gary lived in Queens at the time. I still lived in Jersey. We got outside. It's just like, I'm out. And just walked our separate ways and just went home.
2 things that brings to mind for me. First and foremost, like the fact that you were at that and I was at Game 7 in 2006 when Beltran watched the hook from Wainwright. I mean, you were at the double nickel with Jordan against us. I mean, I've been at when Jordan hit a. I was at a Knick game for a Jordan buzzer beater when he was with the Wizards. I don't think it wasn't a buzzer beater. It was a shot with like 5 seconds to go that iced it with my man Dan Palma, who was a friggin' Bulls and a Jordan fan, and so he's cheering in the Garden in your season ticket seats. It was infuriating, but also when you say "let's go," that reminds me of when you and I went to the Jets Cardinals game, and out here, and Geno Smith was the quarterback at the time, and Geno I think had already thrown 2 picks at that point, and you looked at me and said right before the snap, "Nick, if he throws another pick, we're leaving right now." And he threw a pick 6 on the next play. And you looked at me and said, he did the exact thing. You looked at me and said, "We're out." And we got up and immediately exited State Farm Stadium. Gotta go. Gotta get out of there. But yeah, man, it was a good night for the Mets. It's been a great month and a half for the Mets. Senga's on his way back. Marte's on his way back. Hopefully we can, have a great run, get into the postseason. And in baseball, as we always say, you never know what can happen. One little bit of bad news, but actually maybe some more optimistic news. Christian Scott, he's now being shut down for 2 weeks. He had some swelling or some tenderness in the UCL, which quite often means, Tommy John. So the imaging's come back. They've ruled out surgery for the moment. They're going to shut him down for 2 weeks and reevaluate. I can't lie. Whenever I see a guy have this UCL stuff, I just think the Tommy John's coming sooner or later. It's just about how long we can put it off.
Right. That's all. But, listen, you got to hope. And, if this kid, something like that happens, we'll see him again in a year or 2 and he'll be back.
If you're feeling the content or you think we are 2 loathsome, offensive brutes and yet you can't look away, give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Make sure you subscribe and or hit that notification button on YouTube or wherever you're listening. The New York Knicks, they continue their offseason moves, this time on the bench, by extending Todd Thibodeau, 3-year extension through the 27-28 season. I haven't seen any reports of, the numbers on it, but I'm sure he's around that 10 million number, somewhere around there. And the Knicks have their coach, the longest tenured coach for the Knicks since Red Holtzman. Which that kind of surprised me. I thought maybe Van Gundy or something. I know, but when you stop and think about it, obviously he clearly is, and the most successful Knicks coach that we have seen since Van Gundy, and that's not even a question. Obviously, you and I are, card-carrying members of the Thibs Hive, and this was expected that it would get done. I'm glad that they went ahead and put ink to paper, and we can continue to lock in this core group that we have from top to bottom.
Yeah, Thibs definitely deserves it. I mean, obviously the players on the team love him. They follow him. He's their leader. The other thing, did you hear Mark Bryant also? We signed Mark Bryant as an assistant coach.
I did not know.
Yeah, he's a good guy to bring in. He's going to do well working with the big men.
And then have we talked about the fact that we got Mo Cheeks as well?
Mo Cheeks, as well. I mean, we lost Johnny Bryant, but I think, Mo Cheeks I think he's got to be a good. I mean, I just assume he's a good coach. He's been in the game forever, and people seem to give him reverence and whatnot. Sure. And Mark Bryant's supposed to be a really good guy working with the big men. So hopefully he can work with your man Mitch and Jericho, who we're seeing videos of him shooting with both hands. I don't know.
With Bibby.
Where has all this been, though, Nick?
So, okay, I did a little, I told my research team to get on it, and our crack research team, they say that he was ambidextrous throughout high school, and that when it came to shooting free throws at Texas, which he's not a very good free throw shooter, he was shooting them with both hands, and the right hand had more rotation, so they said stick with the right. They said focus on that. But now, I mean, Dad, he looks very natural going up and shooting the ball with either hand in those videos that came out on Twitter today with him and Bibby. And I just like the fact that he's clearly, really working on this summer, expanding his game. And listen, we've seen videos of Mitch in the offseason, like crossing cats up and hitting fadeaway threes. So who knows? But this is not some pickup with some, regular guys at the LA Fitness. This is him working with Mike Bibby. He's clearly putting in the work. And I'm sure that he's hearing all this talk about, the Knicks problem at backup center. And, he knows that he's coming in. You're going to have, Mitch, who's oft injured. And, people have talked about this kid, Hawk Porty. But I think that Jericho's coming in with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Maybe we see a little bit of dog out of him. He expands his offensive game just a little bit. If he expands his offensive game just a little bit, and then in addition to that, we can just get a little bit more defensive awareness out of him. He's got all the tools. He's just got to put it together.
You can talk yourself into almost anything.
Anything. I can talk myself. Right. All I need is an 8-second highlight of the guy shooting a few jump shots, one with each hand. And I'm like, Jericho might be the next Hakeem Olajuwon.
Right. Well, listen, I'm hopeful for Jericho. I'm not betting any money on it, because I will guarantee you he's been shooting those kinds of shots in other off seasons. He just doesn't feel confident doing it in a real game. But you know what?
Bibby's getting them right.
I hope so. Bibby. Maybe Bibby's the one who's got him.
Bibby's from here. Bibby's
that's what I'm saying. He might be out here in the zona, and Bibby's got the plug with the juice. Because you seen Bibby lately?
Jacked. He's not just jacked, but it's clearly juice. How tight his skin is and how vascular he is.
Come on, man. That guy's about to explode. So be careful with that, Jericho. Don't get too juiced with your man. Bibby.
No juice. Jericho
don't need no juice.
He's a body beautiful,
right.
Stealing a term from you.
Natural.
There's zero reason for that guy to do any type of juice, but I'm hoping that he has a little bit more internal juice. Pause. That didn't sound good, but I'm hoping that he comes out with a little bit more, a little more fire in the belly than we've seen from him before. And hopefully he's hearing all this chirping in the offseason about how the Knicks don't have a backup center, and he's ready to show everybody, yes, we do.
Can you imagine if Jericho got the opportunity to really play, and Jericho did something where he caught an alley-oop and dunked it and got fouled really hard, and then just came out with something like that out of Jericho,
like a Precious type shit,
like a Precious type.
If Jericho did some I had that Precious,
they might run on the court.
They might run on the court and mob him like it's the Rucker or some shit.
Yeah, like the Rucker, It'd be like a Rucker.
Yeah, no, that would be absolutely awesome if that happened. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's coming this year. It's coming this year. Okay. Jericho's coming. He's ready to go. Any closing thoughts on Summer League?
I read today, Nick, that our man Jacobitis is in serious negotiations to play in Israel or something.
Israel, some Tel Aviv team. Yeah.
Right.
And
listen, hey.
If we can retain his rights, I'm okay with that.
Right. That's what happens sometimes. Yeah, and I don't even know if we retain his rights, Nick. We might lose.
We do.
We do.
I just saw that we do retain his
so
rights.
We can revisit it. What, when he's 30? I mean, come on. How old is the guy now? He's 25. We retain his rights. Come on.
Yeah,
come back to the wheelchair league.
I don't know. I would like to see him. I don't want to see him go anywhere else. I like to see that he's going over there and he's not trying to go to another NBA team. I don't even know exactly how that works with his contract and retaining his rights. I don't know. At the end of the day, he wasn't going to see any. If he was on the Knicks and got any minutes this year, it would mean that things went horribly wrong. So at the end of the day, I do like him, man. I like what I saw out of him in summer league. And this guy Tyler Kolek, he is absolutely positively going to be somebody who is going to get minutes for this team, and he's going to be a valuable member of this team and a valuable player in the NBA for years to come. And the thing I like about it is the fact that he does not seem like the type of guy who he's good, but he's not like a ceiling guy where in a few years he's going to be like, I need to go somewhere else and get my shot to really run the whole squad. I think he's the type of guy that would be, he's going to be a really good backup in this league that can start if you need him, but nobody's going to be clamoring for him to be their starting point guard, say like a guy like Quick. But who knows? Hopefully he gets good enough that's a question. That's a good problem to have. But the other thing is,
I definitely think he's got the perfect being as good as Quick.
I think so. I think so, Dad.
He's a better passer already. That's
no. He's a better passer than like 95% of the league now.
He's a very good passer, that boy.
He's a gifted passer. He's got great vision. He's got great anticipation. As you and I were talking about when we were watching the game this past weekend, some of these passes that he's making, it's like, that he's so many steps ahead, mentally, to be able even to know that guy can be open in that spot. And so, and he, in addition to that, he's got a natural gift for it. So, I mean, he's that guy. And, and he's got the perfect mentor. He's going to go play with Brunson. Brunson's going to teach him how to do all the things. Like, listen, we're not that athletic. We're not that big, but this is how we get space and can get off our shots whenever we want. He's going to have this cat doing the off 1 foot, man. I'm really excited to see this guy. I'm really excited to see him get our players just some easy buckets, a guy like Mitch is going to feast with him.
Him and Randall. Randall's going to feast with him.
Randall's going to feast with him.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick on Randall. I sent you a clip earlier from Zach Lowe in his podcast. And one of the points he made was the fact that a lot of those, once Randall got hurt, a lot of those pick and rolls with Brunson were being run with Hartenstein. And Hartenstein is a good passer, but he's nowhere close to the overall offensive player that Julius Randle is. Julius Randle is an equal passer. He's much better at everything. Once you put him in that position, it's going to just open up things for everybody on the floor. And you're going to need to do that because you can't run the pick and roll with Mitch, because with Mitch, everybody can just sag and load up on Brunson. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I'm glad. I feel like there's been a little bit of pushback against all the Julius hate. I think there's a lot of people that have been coming out recently, especially like former NBA players, from Garnett to, Perkins. Those guys have always been, but now we got guys like Lowe. And I've just seen like a lot of Knicks Twitter in general. There's been a lot of people pushing back and being like, yo, man, let's stop acting like this guy is just some guy. And let's start giving him a little bit respect. And if you're the Knicks, you're not just trading him just to trade him. You only trade him if you're getting something that you think is absolutely going to make your team better right now and for the foreseeable future. And I don't know who that guy is.
It's apparent that you don't listen to your dad quite enough. If you just reel back a couple of these episodes, you'd see me saying what Zach Lowe said before Zach Lowe said it. I said to you that a lot of those high post pick and roll plays, those high post plays that this guy excelled at, that would be Randall. It's only that Randall was hurt. Well, now that Randall's back, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of said, I said the same thing, and frankly, maybe Zach Lowe saw that episode. You know what I'm saying?
I'm getting a little deja vu here, and you say it right now. Okay, so clearly Zach Lowe
is clearly a subscriber under a pseudonym, and he's stealing our shit.
Yeah. See, all right. The Low Post. I got to reach out to him, man, and let him know that he's got to at least give us some credit if he's going to throw that out.
What I'm saying?
I didn't say some guy said it in his podcast. I at least said his name.
Come on, man. Give the old
man
a little run.
Yeah, listen, man. The season cannot get here fast enough. It's only like 3 months away. It's not that far away.
Oh, it's close.
It seems like it's here at any moment now. But one season that is definitely right around the corner, the New York Jets, who have reported to training camp. And so far, there are a couple stories, and those are not just Aaron Rodgers' shirt and flip flops on day one as he walked in, which many people say that he wanted to show everybody that he had been to Egypt because that's all the talk.
I didn't see the shirt. What did the shirt look like?
It was like it wasn't the Sphinx, but it was some sort of
on his T-shirt, like
something. Yeah, something like
okay.
It was some sort of Egyptian character. I don't know exactly which one it was.
What's flip flops? What's the big deal about wearing flip flops?
I think it was. I heard Bart say yesterday that he said something about how he had on like he said he had on the shirt and the Moses flip flops. I think he called them. But what did you think about Rodgers saying and talking about his absence during OTAs and revealing today that he actually was fined $50,000 for missing those days in training camp? No, OTAs, not training camps.
Yeah, I think it's all a non-issue. I really do. I think that he told them, look, he said it today. He made the plans to go to Egypt with some close friends of his. It's a bucket list type thing. And he made it looking at last year's dates. He really thought he was making plans to not miss the OTAs. It turns out it was. He couldn't do it. It came up to a conflict. I'm sure he said to Salah, hey, man, I got this big trip planned. It's 2 days. And, they were like, okay, no big deal. The guy's been a great soldier. Get over it. It's a big deal for people outside the building and no one, absolutely no one inside the building. And people just want to keep talking about it. I don't think it's a big deal. And they find them, fine. They find them just because, you know what, that's what we got to do to make it right or whatever. We find them. We say it's this. Aaron, this is what we're going to do. Aaron said he knew what the deal is. It is what it is. It's not a big deal. He gave the money to them. Come on, man. Like somebody said earlier, he's finding that kind of money in the cushions of his couch or in his ashtray in the car. It's not a big deal. I just think it's not a big deal.
I don't think there's any ashtrays in any of the cars.
And that's what Louis Riddick said. He's like, yeah, but they don't even put ashtrays in cars anymore.
Yeah, there's no ashtrays or tape decks in any of Aaron Rodgers' cars. He could have an old school joint. You never know. But this is my thing with the whole Rodgers. I do think that for most of the organization, definitely for all the players, it was an absolute non-issue. Okay. I just wish going back that Salah could have echoed all these things that we're saying right now, that Rodgers is saying now. He didn't handle that well. He was
inartful in his delivery about that. Absolutely. Okay.
And it wasn't just the words that he said, his overall he seemed like he was kind of annoyed the fact that he wasn't there. And I just think
maybe
that
he was.
If it really did go down the way that Rodgers detailed it, then just present like, hey, scheduling conflict, the guy needs to do this. Well, we love to have him here, sure, but he goes and all he had to do is everything he said. If he just added to it, listen, the guy was here for every single thing throughout the entire offseason. He's missing 2 days. It was a scheduling conflict and a miscommunication or just a misunderstanding by him of last year's schedule compared to this one. If he would have just added a couple little caveats, we would not be talking about this now. The only reason we're talking about it now is because of how he handled it that way. And that's my biggest question mark going into this year. Is Salah a legitimate head coach in the NFL? And that's part of it. So hopefully learn from it. Hopefully he does better.
Nick, I agree with you that he didn't handle it well, but I don't agree that if he had handled it properly and spoken more artfully about it, that the press would have just left it at that and never talked about it again. They still would have talked about it because Aaron Rodgers missed 2 days of OTAs, and it's a big deal to a lot of people, but it's not a big deal to any of the Jets. So, I mean, again, I have to echo what they say. It is what it is. People are going to react the way they want to react. Let's move on. That's it. It's not going to make a difference in how many games we win or lose. And I just don't think, again, I don't think anyone's making a big deal out of this except for the press a little bit. And I actually think that's all going to go away because there's just nothing there. The real issue, as I'm sure you're about to bring up, is Hassan.
Well, how do you feel about the fact that Hassan Reddick has not reported to camp? Reportedly wants a deal somewhere between 25 and 28 million. And according to the Jets, they all expected him to be in camp. So,
That's right.
how do you feel? Is this a big deal? And if so, how nervous are you?
Well, it's a big deal. I'm nervous. I mean, I want this guy in camp. I want this guy on the team. I do also understand that when they traded for him, evidently it's reported that he told the Jets, and he said it in public, Nick. I remember
I
him
know he
saying
did.
this,
He did. He did.
that,
He
hey,
did.
at the end of the day, I play ball, and that's what I do. He said something like, I play ball, and that's what I do. When it comes time to play, I'm going to be there. He said something to that effect. Not those exact words. And now he flipped the script on him, Nick. And listen, some will say, oh, the Jets should have never believed that, and blah, blah, blah. And listen, the Jets are saying to him, I'm hearing what the Jets are saying to him now. We'll negotiate with you to maybe up this year's money or something like that, but we won't start negotiating until you come in. Okay, you need to come in, and then we'll start talking. But you're not just going to hold us over, because honestly, if you're the Jets, you haven't played one down for us, and we're just supposed to hand you $27 million a year? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what happens when you trade for a player who is in the middle of a contract
right.
dispute. That's the reason that the other team got rid of him.
I
So,
get it,
what do you
but
think
I'm
is going to be
sure
different?
well, the only thing is, Nick, is that they spoke to him. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
they
think that's
spoke to him.
naive.
Well, they spoke to him, and he said a totally different thing. Hey, I'll come and I'll play, and I'll show you guys. I'm going to do this. I mean, Nick, I'm sure he said something to that effect, and he didn't do it. I mean, when people say they're going to do that and they don't, you take the chance, you roll the dice. They're going to get him in somehow, Nick. They will have him in before the start of the season. I'm confident of that fact. But it's disappointing he's not there right now, but I think he'll be there in the next week or two.
So, I get it from both sides. I get it from his side. I get
He's
it from
using
the
his
Jets
leverage right
side,
now. He has
and
extreme leverage.
it's a game of chicken, and we're going to see who blinks
Right.
first. And honestly, I do think it's a little naive for the Jets to think that he's so excited to be here that now he's not going to hold out when he's leaving a perennial, a playoff team and a team that won a Super Bowl not too long ago, or at least was in a Super Bowl not too long ago. And yeah, I think that's a little naive to think that without getting a deal done, that this guy was going to come in and be happy. But I also get the Jets' point of view that you just detailed as well. I mean, as far as the fact that we haven't seen you come in here, and then I get all that. I'm with
And
all
just
that.
him saying, you taking
See,
the man
that's
at
the
his
point I
word.
don't get. That's the point I don't get. No, you don't take that when it comes to contract shit and stuff like that. Like you can't. Okay, what do people always say? Look at his actions more than his words. Look at his actions. I mean, the fact that he's leaving them now is that says a lot. I don't think that. I think if they were going just off of his word, if that's the reason they said, okay, let's go ahead and pull the trigger on this because he gave us his word that he's going to. I think that's dumb. I think if that's the case, that's very naive of the Jets to do that. But I also don't disagree with them, rolling the dice and making the move. As you said, I hope he comes in very, very soon, just because the longer that holdout gets, it's not even my theory. Everybody knows this. Guys who hold out for a long time, you're always nervous about the injury. They're not getting that slow buildup of that callus that you need to play football. And now all of a sudden they're thrown out on the field with guys who have been getting that for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. And now it's a problem. So I hope that he gets back soon. I hope they figure out a way to get it done. I'm at the point right now. We're all in, pay the man. I don't care. And, I'm not a capologist. It's not for me to worry about. And, if whatever room that we have to give him this year, it's just that, in these next few years, we're going to have guys like Garrett coming up. We're going to have Brees coming up. We're going to Sauce coming up. I mean, Garrett and Sauce, there's a very good chance that when they come up, they're going to want to be the highest paid people at their positions.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be tough, and we're going to have to make some tough decisions. I just want Reddick in now. I just think that him being the finisher and the closer with the rest of his defensive line just takes us to a whole different level. And, hopefully they get it done.
Before we're done with the Jets, just have one more to tell you about that I read today about a former Jet.
I was going to talk about this, but I know what it is. I know what you're coming with.
They say he came into camp 363, which is not bad, but vomiting, puking 5 to 10 times in the first practice. Now,
I read 10.
Now, mind you, Nick, I will tell you from my experience, when you first come to camp, a lot of guys, especially if you're not in the best shape, then you puke, But it happens because you're not in the best shape.
Exactly.
and you're getting overly exerted in the heat, and your body reacts by throwing up. Now, some guys throw up just because of nervousness. I played with a guy who literally, he was one of the stars of the team, Fletch. You know Fletch. Every day, every game day after team breakfast, walking down the campus, he would throw up. But that's just nerves and whatnot. But this guy, he's out of shape, But hopefully he'll get into shape. He'll whip into shape. But you would think a guy like him, Nick, especially going to a new team with the reputation you have behind him, come on, Becton, man. You should be trying to come in top shape, tip top,
He's not that guy, Dad. He's not.
He's not.
We've seen it. He's clearly not that guy. Shout out to my guy Carter Wood, who I work with, who was a offensive lineman for U of A and got thrown into a game and had to play center where he wasn't he wasn't in the shape to be playing every down and wasn't a guy who played that many snaps and gets thrown into a game due to some injuries, has to play center, and he was a guard before that, and then he gets in there and there's a YouTube video that you can look up of him as he's over the ball about to snap, hurling and then snapping the ball and continuing the play. It's right next to me at work. Yeah, man, listen, I've watched guys hurl at the beginning of basketball tryouts during the first one when you're getting ran around. I didn't hurl because, my father was a maniac and had me running around the development dribbling a basketball every day before school. And so I came in ready and fresh. But yeah, man, listen, it's just typical back then. When I read that, I actually was hoping that you hadn't heard it so I could say it to you for the first time and see your reaction right here on the pod. But yeah, I read that he yacked 10 times today. And but I did read that he got right back out there and continued. Yeah. And we know that he has crazy potential if he could ever figure out a way to get himself in tip-top shape and stay healthy. And I hope he stays healthy for the young man. And the Eagles have done a great job of developing offensive linemen. So if he's going to get it done, this is his chance. But I looked at his deal earlier, 2.75. With incentives, he can make another 2.75. So what he can make? What is that? 4.25 or something like 450? Yeah. Is my math wrong? That's probably wrong. But 5.25, 550, whatever it is. 550. All right. So he can make 550. 5.5, rather, I should say. Yo, I mean, this guy, man, talk about fumbling the bag, man. Yeah, I mean, he had a chance. He had a chance to be making like super stupid money. The tackle market is exploding. And
like you said, he's not that guy, Nick. He's not that good, and he's not that dedicated, and he's just not that in shape. He would have to clearly show a significant amount of dedication to keep his weight down and stay in the kind of shape he needs to be in to play in this league, to be the size man that he is. Yeah. Some guys got to trim it down like him. Some guys got to beef it up. And he has a serious case of the trim it downs, and he's not up to the task.
Make sure you hit that like, tell all your friends, and give us a subscribe and follow on all platforms. The big guy is addicted to buying dog leashes, collars, and harnesses, and those things can get expensive.
They can.
The NBA on TNT, after reports earlier this week that Warner Brothers Paramount had matched the offer, the NBA came out today and said they did not match the offer. There was many people rejoicing that the NBA on TNT was going to continue, but no. Disney, NBC, Amazon Prime will be covering the NBA after next season. The deal is done. Everything's signed. Chuck, EJ, Kenny, Shaq are no more. What do you think about the NBA on TNT being done?
I mean, listen, I didn't even realize it's been 4 decades, okay? I didn't even realize it had been that long. And I do like those guys. I do find them entertaining. They've grown on me a lot over the years. But I think at the end of the day, Nick, they'll have some other studio show that'll grow on us. That'll be fine. And when it really comes down to it, is who's doing the games. That's what matters to me more than anything, is who's doing the games. And that I don't know what they're going to do there. So I don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, we're going to get Breeny. We're going to get Breen all we want, right?
That's the question. That's something that I was going to bring up.
ABC.
But I was going to talk about a couple other things, but this is the thing that makes me a little bit nervous about this scenario. First and foremost, okay, so as far as NBA on TNT, they needed to be put out to pasture. It's a bunch of guys who talk basketball who clearly don't watch basketball. They say things sometimes where it's like there's guys that they've never heard of, or some of the things that they say where it's like, yo, do you guys even watch when you're at the studio, let alone like, when you're at home? Or you're not the junkies on League Pass type of guys. They're not that. They're not. And they're all Knick haters except for Kenny Smith, it seems like, and EJ, but specifically Shaq and Chuck. And I don't really get their entire shtick is, well, when I was a player. And it's like, yo,
that gets old after a while.
It gets old
Especially
after a while, man.
Shaq,
I don't want to hear your bona fides.
Up with that.
Yeah,
Shaq.
yeah.
Brutal. I mean, it's like, Shaq, dude, calm down. I mean, dude, we get
Chuck
it.
does it plenty as well, but Shaq does overdose on it more than anybody. But
I got 4 rings, 4 rings or whatever,
Yeah. It's always like, well, listen, when I was, come on, enough. And it's just like, they almost seem like they were leaning more into the hijinks recently. And trying to go viral, right? Yeah, the guarantee, the running back there. They're trying to go viral. They're blowing confetti. It's too much, man. I like EJ. To me, in this, and he always says that he would never leave Turner Sports because he's not going anywhere. And that's the thing, man. Like, that's what I don't like about this. That's the only thing I don't like about this is like I would love if we could get EJ.
EJ's done. He's not leaving.
Oh man, I mean,
that's
seems like
his home,
loves
man.
it
He's
so
not
much.
Yeah,
I know. No, they've done so much for him and his family. And I mean, if you know his story when it comes to the disabled kids that he special needs kids that he adopts and things like that. And supposedly Turner's been extremely supportive with him and that and some of his different health battles that he's dealt with. So he said that, and I take him as a man for his word. But it would really be a shame if I never got to hear that guy talk basketball again. So that's the one thing that is kind of unfortunate, but. To your point, as far as Breen is concerned. Okay, so now we got Disney. We got that's ESPN. NBC, glad to hear the music again. I'm glad to hear that music again. They're bringing it back. They've already said officially they are bringing it back. And then you have Amazon Prime. So when you start adding these streaming services, the one thing that I don't want is now we have more games on Amazon Prime, and therefore we get whoever those commentators are, and we don't get Breen and Clyde. That would be very, very.
You're talking about Clyde. Not getting Clyde.
No, I'm saying like, are we going to get less MSG games? I'm saying like games that are telecast by MSG. Because with Amazon Prime coming in, what do you think the Amazon? I mean, okay, so that like between NBC and ESPN, they're going to have the that cadence of like either Tuesday, Thursday, and then the other one's going to have like Wednesday, Friday, and then I would guess NBC, or they'll probably switch off the Sunday games once the football season ends and they start doing that. But then with Amazon Prime coming in, do they start doing more of the just regular weekday games where you could get them on Prime somehow? And if that's the case, because we're out of market, do we have to do that instead of being able to go? Because usually when the game is on any sort of service, it's not on the NBA app. We can't watch it, and then we can't pick who our commentators are. And if I get stuck listening to some jerk off in Indiana as opposed to Breen and Clyde, I'm gonna be annoyed.
Yeah. All right. Well, calm down. It's not gonna. If it does happen, it's not gonna be that many games, Nick. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be like a third of the games or anything like that.
I don't know, man.
There'll be a few games, just like on baseball. They have a couple games on Apple or Amazon, and I think that's all it's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be right.
I don't know exactly what the format is going to be and exactly how that's all going to work out. I'm sure we'll get details of that next season leading into the big change that'll happen in the following season, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I thought I was amazed by how many people that were rejoicing earlier this week when it came out that TNT seems like that the NBA on TNT was going to continue. So many people were rejoicing about it, but I don't know. And a lot of the circles
people love that show, Nick. People love that show.
I'm over it. I think it's gotten way too sticky, and I could do without the Knick hate. Team USA, they finished up their showcase with a win against a spirited Germany team. They did go 4-0. They did have close games with Australia, South Sudan, and Germany. Many people leading up to this Olympics were talking about the fact that this might be the best U.S. team since the Dream Team. They are playing without Kevin Durant in these games, which many apologists want to make that excuse. What do you think about Team USA? They're showing in the showcase, and what do you predict for them coming up in Paris starting this weekend?
I think they'll win, Nick. I mean, obviously, you have to assume that they will win. They will win the gold. That said, listen to me. These games were way too close, man. That game against Sudan, that's a joke. There's no way that could be that should be that close. Um, I think these guys are bullshitting themselves. Now, mind you, we've talked about it a million times. If you got a team that plays together and plays smart, they got a shot. So these guys better wise up, man, because there's no turning back if you lose in the Olympics for men's basketball. Okay, that cannot happen. So don't be taking this shit too light. And people like your man Anthony Edwards, I ain't heard nothing out of him. Well, let's step up, young fella, and make it happen. Do something to. I don't know. It seems to me like every headline I'm reading, LeBron is winning the game for him, and it's like he's the oldest guy in the world. So what's going on? Where are these other guys?
And that game against Germany was a 1-point game with 90 seconds left. And then LeBron took over. And honestly, I think the fact that a 39-year-old is the one who is having to save this team late in games against the likes of Sudan is a very troubling sign. And now there definitely is everybody wants to compare them to the Dream Team. I don't even think there's a comparison. I think that team would mop this team. But you do have to be fair and say that there's going to be 67 NBA players in this Olympics back in 90 guys that have NBA experience. And back in 92, there was only 22 and most of them were not active. So obviously the game has grown. 92 Dream Team is the main reason that the game has grown the way that it has. And so
that's why they can't be bullshitting, though, Nick.
They can't be bullshitting. Exactly. That's the thing. They cannot bullshit in any way, shape, or form. And if that Germany game in particular, because of the Sudan game prior, it seemed like they came out with a real attention to detail, a real intensity. They were running the floor earlier. They were playing defense. And then there was this middle part where they wavered a little bit. And I'm telling you, that German coach, man, he runs a tight ship. Those guys, every screen they set, every cut they make, everything they do is with purpose. And those guys, when they're all playing together, they're better than like that guy Schroeder. That guy Schroeder is better when he's playing on the German team than he ever is in the NBA. He's got a different level of confidence. He knows these guys. And I mean, you see him playing, it's like, damn, he's not this good in the NBA. So you're going to run into teams that have played together, that have camaraderie, that are maybe more well coached and maybe just have more, continuity than we do. And like you said, they cannot bullshit for a second, because if they do, all of a sudden things get hairy, and anything other than a gold is just an abject failure. And your boy, Steph, he's looking to get a gold. LeBron, he's got 2 bronzes on his on his resume. And now all those stories back from 2010 in an article written by Woj about his immaturity and the fact that he was almost left off of one of those Olympic teams because of his overall not just his immaturity, but he was being a bit of a diva, and him and Maverick Carter and the way that they were dealing with stuff. There was a lot of talk, and it got communicated to LeBron via Nike that, if you don't tighten up, you're not going to be on this next team. And then they had Jason Kidd babysit him. I don't even remember this article from 2010. I saw somebody reference it today and then went back and read it, or at least skimmed through it. And it was pretty scathing, man. This was a legacy moment for LeBron if he didn't, get it tightened up right there. And then he ends up coming back on that next team. And, obviously they do well. And, that was the Redeem team and they were able to get it. But they were ready to rock with Kobe and leave LeBron home at one point. And, Krzyzewski has talked about that as well. And so, it's big for everybody, man. It's big for everybody. These guys, they need to step up. They need to make it happen. Your boy Halliburton is not in the rotation. DMP coach's decision. And I think that putting him on this team, there was a point where I look at it and I say, he's a better fit for this team than maybe Brunson because he's bigger. He can defend more. He can, he's more of a distributor and things like that. But you know what, though? The difference is that sometimes, man, you just need a guy who can hit a bucket. And Brunson is that guy. And obviously, Brunson wasn't able to be there anyway with the injury. But I like that adds a little bit of fire to him. Halliburton, I love the fact that he's getting no run. Speaking of Brunson, real quick, got to add in throughout the first pitch today. He did take a picture with Lindor prior to the game without the Yankees jersey on, which I was happy about. But obviously, you're at Yankee Stadium. They're going to give you a number 11 jersey. He threw out the first pitch. He didn't bounce it. Good for him. He is the King of New York. Yes, absolutely. But it'll be interesting. I love the fact that Halliburton is, that he's not getting any burn. Embiid has not looked great. He actually looked pretty good against Germany at certain points, but overall, he didn't have a great showing in the selectives. And I got a couple of quotes from Embiid that I want to give to you.
Oh God,
that he's come out with. He's come out with in just the last couple of days. He's on some podcast where he's like laying down on the couch, and he's holding a soccer ball. And the two quotes that jumped out to me were, "I'd average 50 if there was no double teams." And then the other one is, "I'm probably the most hated guy in the league. I don't know why, because I'm cool. I don't know what there is to hate about me."
He's a very hateable guy. And all I'll say is, I'll repeat my dear old mom, who would say, because whenever you were making excuses to her and saying she'd say, "If a bull had tits, it would be a cow."
I remember Elsie saying that.
Come on, man. Stop it, Embiid. Embiid's a clown. He's a tool. He's an idiot. I'm so glad, dude. I just don't ever want that guy anywhere near a Knicks uniform ever in life. And I want to beat him every time we see him. He's dirty and he's a clown.
He's a clown. And I mean, he leads the league in, flagrant and technical. I think it's like him. He's right behind Draymond, or he might even be ahead of Draymond over the last few years. We know he's always injured. I don't know if you can begrudge the guy and dislike him for that. I mean, I wouldn't love it if I was a Philly fan, but I mean, his act this past year in the playoffs, like I almost feel like he's kind of like getting off easy on that, to a certain extent. He's not getting the hate that he should get for the way that he conducted himself. And overall, I don't think he's a very likable guy at all. I think he's the exact opposite of likable. The way he handles himself in interviews, he's crying after games. "Oh, fuck why?" And he's doing dirty shit on the floor. And especially when you're doing that dirty shit and you're the biggest guy on the floor, it becomes even more glaring. And his lack of self-awareness is crazy to me, especially with the fact, like we've said, over and over again, but specifically in the last episode, that he's even playing in this tournament when he's having a hard time staying on the floor and has never been able to do that consistently at all in his entire career. So I'm glad to see him scuffle a little bit. If the U.S., I'm obviously going to be rooting for the U.S. I want the U.S. to win. I want them to win gold. I'd like them to win handedly. I'd like to see him get tested a little bit just so I can see some good basketball. But if they were to not win and somehow it was, had to do with Embiid going down in flames, I would not be too mad at that. And when you watch the games, I mean, to me, it's so clear that like Anthony Davis is so much better than him. I mean, especially on the floor with this team, he's so much better than him. And it almost seems like they're starting Embiid as a courtesy right now.
Nick, I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying, man. I think guys like Embiid live on fumes, man. He's a great player, Nick. He's a great player. And you know what? I even refrain to say that sometimes because I think he's a great talent. But I don't. First of all, I just don't want my center. But I was gonna say I don't want my center shooting 3-pointers. But then again, I would love to have a guy like Anthony Davis who can shoot the occasional 3-pointer. But I think Anthony Davis is a much, much better player than Embiid. I really do. I don't even think it's close.
Ooh,
and I know a lot of people will say that's close. A lot of people might take Embiid over Anthony Davis. I get it. I think Anthony Davis is much better. Now, let's take out the whole injury thing because they both have issues there. Maybe Anthony Davis a little more than Embiid. I don't know. I'm not talking about injuries. I'm just talking about when they're both healthy and on the floor. Give me Anthony Davis on my team over Embiid any day.
I think that'd be split 50-50 amongst NBA fans. I mean, Anthony Davis is a guy who's been in MVP conversations, who's been in, 5 best player in the league conversations, for quite some time now. And Embiid is always in that conversation as well. I mean, Embiid is a great player. And he tortured the Knicks on one leg in the postseason, though he did whittle, and he whittled because he was out of shape, because he was hurt, because that's what he always is. And he, like you said, he does not seem like he is in tip-top shape. He seems like he's in, he's obviously he's not some slovenly individual playing in the NBA, but he doesn't seem like he's in tip-top shape. And when you look at, us overall, and you look at, the Knicks and where we're at, it's not even that I don't want to see him because I don't like his act. He just wouldn't even be a good addition to what we got going on at the moment. And, I really look forward to the matchups against Philadelphia this season, the Eastern Conference in general. It's all going to be very, very interesting. Real quick, before we move on, or before we pretty much close it up, I want to ask you, comparing this current team going to Paris to the dream team, if they were to go head to head, who do you think comes out on top? And, do you think it's close? Do you think it's a nail biter? Do you think that somebody wins big?
Kills them. The dream team
kills them.
Easy, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. No, come on. It's not even close. Dream team kills them because, definitely on the wings, with Jordan, Pippen, guys like that, they're going to just kill these guys.
And the big men.
And the big men, too. Elijah Wan.
Not Elijah.
No, not Elijah Wan. Not Elijah Wan.
David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Malone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just coming in waves at these guys, man.
Malone? What Malone? Not Moses.
Karl Malone.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Moses Malone. I was about to say he didn't play for
Karl Malone, the mailman, a.k.a. the pedophile.
Karl Malone, that's really not a laughing matter.
It's not a laughing matter. No, it's not. It's not. But if you ever watched the Man Show back in the day, they had a great Karl Malone skit. Jimmy Kimmel in blackface. You don't see that much anymore. But as far so, and what's funny is that recently I've seen so many LeBron stans. They go on Twitter, and after LeBron has some of these big games, they say they like put up a highlight of, or like they put up LeBron's stats that he did this and this, and they said, "I'm tired of the GOAT conversation. It's over. Jordan could never age 39." And this is the most age-old sports hot take debate. I've never, I think we've talked about this a little bit in private, but I don't know if I've ever got a definitive answer. As far as like greatest of all time, to you, is it Jordan or is it LeBron or is it maybe somebody else?
No, it's got to be one of those two guys. I think that's a tough conversation. I think Jordan's probably still greatest of all time because he, of all his championships and all that. But me, I always feel like championships have more to do with the entire team than just one person. But he was that guy. LeBron is doing things that, Jordan couldn't have done at 39 what LeBron is doing at 39. I don't think there's any doubt about that. LeBron is in greater physical shape. LeBron is a greater overall athlete, it would seem, for longevity's sake. LeBron's probably one of the greatest athletes. We talk about greatest athletes that we've ever seen, and I say names like Bo Jackson, all that. We need to start saying LeBron James. Really. For him to be doing what he's doing at his age is totally unprecedented. So I still think if you nail me down, I'd have to take Jordan. But I think LeBron is a very, very, very close second, man. With him having scored the most points and playing as long as he does, that gives him some, longevity sake. But Jordan is the greater, greater killer and whatnot, career and, assassin, all that. And if you want to talk assassin stuff, then you got to throw in Kobe and all that. But I think LeBron gets himself up there because, listen, man, the longevity, you have to say something for the longevity. It's amazing. It's unprecedented.
At age 39 for the Washington Wizards, Jordan averaged 26-5.
Very really? I wouldn't have thought that. Okay.
In 02-03, his last season, he averaged 26-5. The year before that, he averaged 23-5 or 23-6-5 if we're rounding up. So I don't even think the longevity thing is that. And also you got to realize that all his cumulative stats, he had a 3-year head start on Jordan because he came straight out of high school.
Right.
And Jordan left for baseball as well. And when it comes to the conversation of one versus the other, I don't think it's close. I think 6 for 6 speaks for itself. And I think that the 2010 finals against the Dallas Mavericks, where LeBron James was getting held in the post by JJ Barea and didn't have a bad series, he disappeared in that series. He shrank from the moment. In my opinion, once that happens, you could not be in the conversation with Jordan ever after that, because Jordan never did that. In my opinion, that takes him out of even the conversation with Kobe. I think that LeBron is a greater overall basketball player as far as all the different things that he can do on the floor. But as far as imposing his will on the entire game, not just the game, the game of basketball during his time. And again, when it comes to that killer instinct, I would put Kobe ahead of him as well. But yeah, a lot of the LeBron stands are getting real hyped up. They need to go check out what Jordan was doing with the Wizards at age 39, and the type of numbers that he was putting up. And I remember him. He's blocking cat. I think Rip Hamilton tried some bullshit, and he blocked it on the glass with two hands. Back then. Hey, come on. I really don't think it's close. I think that when you look at the totality of like career achievements and the actual basketball player you are, that LeBron gets up there into that Mount Rushmore conversation. But I think most of that is the type of basketball player you are, because I think not only LeBron, obviously he's like 4 of 7, I think in the finals, maybe 4 of 8. But in addition to that, it's the way he's done it. The moving around to the different teams, the assembling the super teams, the player, a lot of people say that LeBron makes everybody better. There's a lot of evidence against that. I think Chris Bosh and some Kevin Loves and these guys would have something different to say about that, as far as how they had to mute their games to play with him. Your boy Dwayne Wade had some very interesting comments about LeBron here recently, and how he had to change his game to be able to play with LeBron, and how that ended up affected his overall legacy. But yeah, the him versus Jordan debate, I don't think it's a debate at all. But it's like I said, it is the most oft discussed topic when it comes to debating in sports, which is obviously kind of the thing that they do these days with your boys Skip and Stephen A initially leading the way. But yeah, I don't think it's close, and it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. First game I think is on Sunday against Serbia, and they're a pretty good team. They're not somebody to play with, and like you said, they better not bullshit. LeBron, you're the flag bearer. You're coming out here. This is your swan song with international basketball. You're going to have these guys right and ready to go, and the U.S. team better come out from the very beginning, and like you said, not bullshit.
I hope so. I mean, listen, they got to come ready, man. I mean, there's a lot on the line, but they have the tools, they have the players. They just got to go out there and put it together.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. Please follow, like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification button on all platforms. Really appreciate all the love. You can find us on all socials at he_did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you, kid.